The Dainty China Country.
Изящная фарфоровая страна.
The Dainty China Country. While the woodman was making a ladder from wood.
Пока дровосек делал лестницу из дерева.
While the woodman was making a ladder from wood, which he found in the forest.
Которое он нашел в лесу.
Which he found in the forest. Dorothy lay down and slept.
Дороти легла и уснула.
Dorothy lay down and slept. For she was tired by the long walk.
Так как устала от долгой ходьбы.
For she was tired by the long walk. The lion also curled himself up to sleep.
Лев тоже свернулся калачиком, чтобы уснуть.
The lion also curled himself up to sleep. And Toto lay beside him.
И Тотошка лег рядом с ним.
And Toto lay beside him. The scarecrow watched the woodman.
Страшила наблюдал за дровосеком.
The scarecrow watched the woodman while he worked, and said to him.
Пока тот работал, и сказал ему.
While he worked, and said to him. I cannot think why this wall is here.
Я не могу понять, почему эта стена здесь.
I cannot think why this wall is here. Nor what it is made of.
И из чего она сделана.
Nor what it is made of. Rest your brains and do not worry about the wall.
Расслабь мозги и не беспокойся о стене.
Rest your brains and do not worry about the wall. Replied the woodman.
Ответил дровосек.
Replied the woodman. When we have climbed over it.
Когда мы перелезем через него.
When we have climbed over it. We shall know what is on the other side.
Мы узнаем, что находится по ту сторону.
We shall know what is on the other side. After a time, the ladder was finished.
Через некоторое время лестница была готова.
After a time, the ladder was finished. It looked clumsy.
Он выглядел неуклюжим.
It looked clumsy. But the Tin Woodman was sure it was strong.
Но железный дровосек был уверен, что он прочный.
But the Tin Woodman was sure it was strong. And would answer their purpose.
И подойдет для их целей.
And would answer their purpose. The scarecrow waked Dorothy and the lion and Toto.
Страшила разбудил Дороти, льва и Тотошку.
The scarecrow waked Dorothy and the lion and Toto. And told them that the ladder was ready.
И сказал им, что лестница готова.
And told them that the ladder was ready. The scarecrow climbed up the ladder first.
Страшила поднялся по лестнице первым.
The scarecrow climbed up the ladder first. But he was so awkward.
Но он был настолько неуклюжим.
But he was so awkward that Dorothy had to follow close behind.
Что Дороти пришлось следовать за ним.
That Dorothy had to follow close behind. And keep him from falling off.
Не давая ему упасть.
And keep him from falling off. When he got his head over the top of the wall.
Когда он перелез через стену.
When he got his head over the top of the wall. The scarecrow said.
Страшила сказал.
The scarecrow said. Oh, my.
О Боже.
Oh, my. Go on.
Продолжай.
Go on. Exclaimed Dorothy.
Воскликнула Дороти.
Exclaimed Dorothy. So the scarecrow climbed farther up.
Так что Страшила взобрался выше.
So the scarecrow climbed farther up. And sat down on the top of the wall.
И сел на вершину стены.
And sat down on the top of the wall. And Dorothy put her head over and cried.
А Дороти опустила голову и закричала.
And Dorothy put her head over and cried. Oh, my.
О Боже.
Oh, my. Just as the scarecrow had done.
Так же, как это сделал Страшила.
Just as the scarecrow had done. Then Toto came up, and immediately began to bark.
Тут подошел Тотошка и тотчас же залаял.
Then Toto came up, and immediately began to bark. But Dorothy made him be still.
Но Дороти успокоила его.
But Dorothy made him be still. The lion climbed the ladder next.
Следующим поднялся по лестнице лев.
The lion climbed the ladder next. And the Tin Woodman came last.
А последним — железный дровосек.
And the Tin Woodman came last. But both of them cried.
Но оба они закричали.
But both of them cried. Oh, my.
О боже!
Oh, my. As soon as they looked over the wall.
Как только они посмотрели через стену.
As soon as they looked over the wall. When they were all sitting in a row on the top of the wall.
Когда все они сели в ряд на вершине стены.
When they were all sitting in a row on the top of the wall. They looked down.
Они посмотрели вниз.
They looked down. And saw a strange sight.
И увидели странное зрелище.
And saw a strange sight. Before them was a great stretch of country.
Перед ними простиралась огромная полоса земли.
Before them was a great stretch of country. Having a floor as smooth and shining and white.
С гладким, блестящим и белым полом.
Having a floor as smooth and shining and white. As the bottom of a big platter.
Как дно большой тарелки.
As the bottom of a big platter. Scattered around were many houses.
Вокруг было разбросано множество домиков.
Scattered around were many houses. Made entirely of china.
Полностью сделанных из фарфора.
Made entirely of china. And painted in the brightest colors.
И раскрашенных в самые яркие цвета.
And painted in the brightest colors. These houses were quite small.
Эти дома были довольно маленькими.
These houses were quite small. The biggest of them.
Самый большой из них.
The biggest of them. Reaching only as high as Dorothy's waist.
Достигал Дороти только талии.
Reaching only as high as Dorothy's waist. There were also pretty little barns.
Были здесь и хорошенькие амбарчики.
There were also pretty little barns. With china fences around them.
С фарфоровыми заборчиками.
With china fences around them. And many cows and sheep and horses.
И множество коров, овец, лошадей.
And many cows and sheep and horses. And pigs and chickens, all made of china.
Свиней и кур, сделанных из фарфора.
And pigs and chickens, all made of china. Were standing about in groups.
Стояли группами.
Were standing about in groups. But the strangest of all were the people.
Но страннее всего были люди.
But the strangest of all were the people who lived in this queer country.
Жившие в этой странной стране.
Who lived in this queer country. There were milkmaids and shepherdesses.
Там были доярки и пастушки.
There were milkmaids and shepherdesses. With brightly colored bodices.
В ярких корсажах.
With brightly colored bodices. And golden spots all over their gowns.
И с золотыми пятнами по всему платью.
And golden spots all over their gowns. And princesses with most gorgeous frocks of.
И принцессы в самых роскошных платьях.
And princesses with most gorgeous frocks of silver and gold and purple.
Из серебра, золота и пурпура.
Silver and gold and purple. And shepherds dressed in knee breeches.
И пастухи, одетые в галифе до колен.
And shepherds dressed in knee breeches. With pink and yellow and blue stripes down them.
С розовыми, желтыми и голубыми полосками внизу.
With pink and yellow and blue stripes down them. And golden buckles on their shoes.
И с золотыми пряжками на башмаках.
And golden buckles on their shoes. And princes with jeweled crowns upon their heads.
И князья с драгоценными коронами на головах.
And princes with jeweled crowns upon their heads. Wearing ermine robes and satin doublets.
Одетые в горностаевые одежды и атласные камзолы.
Wearing ermine robes and satin doublets. and funny clowns in ruffled gowns,
и смешные клоуны в гофрированных платьях,
and funny clowns in ruffled gowns, with round red spots upon their cheeks,
с круглыми красными пятнами на щеках,
with round red spots upon their cheeks, and tall, pointed caps,
и в высоких остроконечных шапках.
and tall, pointed caps. And, strangest of all,
И что самое странное,
and, strangest of all, these people were all made of China.
все эти люди были сделаны из фарфора,
These people were all made of China. Even to their clothes.
вплоть до одежды,
Even to their clothes. And were so small,
и были так малы,
and were so small, that the tallest of them was
что самый высокий из них был,
no higher than Dorothy's knee.
не выше колена Дороти.
No higher than Dorothy's knee. No one did so much as look at the travelers at first.
Никто сначала даже не взглянул на путников,
No one did so much as look at the travelers at first. Except one little purple China dog.
кроме одной лиловой фарфоровой собачки,
Except one little purple China dog. With an extra large head.
с очень большой головой,
With an extra large head. Which came to the wall.
которая подошла к стене,
Which came to the wall. And barked at them in a tiny voice.
и залаяла на них тоненьким голоском,
And barked at them in a tiny voice. Afterwards running away again.
а потом снова убежала.
Afterwards running away again. How shall we get down?
Как мы будем спускаться?
How shall we get down? Asked Dorothy.
Спросила Дороти.
Asked Dorothy. They found the ladder so heavy.
Лестница оказалась настолько тяжелой,
They found the ladder so heavy. They could not pull it up.
что они не могли поднять ее,
They could not pull it up. So the scarecrow fell off the wall.
поэтому Страшила упал со стены,
So the scarecrow fell off the wall. And the others jumped down upon him.
а остальные спрыгнули на него,
And the others jumped down upon him. So that the hard floor would not hurt their feet.
чтобы не поранить ноги о твердый пол.
So that the hard floor would not hurt their feet. When all were safely down.
Когда все благополучно спустились вниз,
When all were safely down. They picked up the scarecrow.
они подняли Страшилу,
They picked up the scarecrow. Whose body was quite flattened out.
чье тело было совершенно расплющенным,
Whose body was quite flattened out. And patted his straw into shape again.
и снова взбили его солому.
And patted his straw into shape again. We must cross this strange place.
Мы должны пересечь это странное место,
We must cross this strange place. In order to get to the other side.
чтобы попасть на другую сторону,
In order to get to the other side. Said Dorothy.
сказала Дороти,
Said Dorothy. For it would be unwise for us.
потому что с нашей стороны было бы неразумно,
For it would be unwise for us. To go any other way except due south.
идти каким-либо другим путем, кроме как на юг.
To go any other way except due south. They began walking through the country of the China people.
Они стали идти по стране фарфоровых людей,
They began walking through the country of the China people. And the first thing they came to.
и первое, что они увидели,
And the first thing they came to. Was a China milkmaid milking a China cow.
была фарфоровая доярка, доящая фарфоровую корову.
Was a China milkmaid milking a China cow. As they drew near.
Когда они приблизились,
As they drew near. The cow suddenly gave a kick and kicked over the stool.
корова вдруг легнула и опрокинула табуретку.
The cow suddenly gave a kick and kicked over the stool, the pail, and even the milkmaid herself.
Ведро и даже саму доярку.
The pail, and even the milkmaid herself. And all fell on the china ground with a great clatter.
И все с грохотом упало на фарфоровую землю.
And all fell on the china ground with a great clatter. Dorothy was shocked to see.
Дороти была потрясена, увидев,
Dorothy was shocked to see that the cow had broken her leg off.
что у коровы сломана нога,
That the cow had broken her leg off. And that the pail was lying in several small pieces.
а ведро упало на несколько мелких кусочков.
And that the pail was lying in several small pieces. While the poor milkmaid had a nick in her left elbow.
А у бедной доярки был порез на левом локте.
While the poor milkmaid had a nick in her left elbow. There.
Ну вот,
There. Cried the milkmaid angrily.
сердито воскликнула доярка.
Cried the milkmaid angrily. See what you have done.
Смотрите, что вы сделали.
See what you have done. My cow has broken her leg.
Моя корова сломала ногу,
My cow has broken her leg. And I must take her to the mender's shop.
и я должна отвезти ее в ремонтную мастерскую.
And I must take her to the mender's shop. And have it glued on again.
И приклеить ее снова.
And have it glued on again. What do you mean by coming here?
Зачем вы пришли сюда?
What do you mean by coming here? And frightening my cow.
И напугали мою корову.
And frightening my cow. I'm very sorry.
Мне очень жаль.
I'm very sorry. Returned Dorothy.
Ответила Дороти.
Returned Dorothy. Please forgive us.
Пожалуйста, прости нас.
Please forgive us. But the pretty milkmaid was much too vexed.
Но симпатичная доярка была слишком рассержена,
But the pretty milkmaid was much too vexed to make any answer.
чтобы что-то ответить.
To make any answer. She picked up the leg sulkily.
Она угрюмо подняла ногу.
She picked up the leg sulkily and led her cow away.
И увела свою корову,
And led her cow away. The poor animal limping on 3 legs.
бедное животное, хромающее на 3 ногах.
The poor animal limping on 3 legs. As she left them,
Уходя от них,
as she left them, the milkmaid cast many reproachful glances.
доярка бросала укоризненные взгляды.
The milkmaid cast many reproachful glances over her shoulder at the clumsy strangers.
Через плечо на неуклюжих незнакомцев,
Over her shoulder at the clumsy strangers. Holding her nicked elbow close to her side.
прижимая поцарапанный локоть к боку.
Holding her nicked elbow close to her side. Dorothy was quite grieved at this mishap.
Дороти была очень огорчена этим несчастным случаем.
Dorothy was quite grieved at this mishap. We must be very careful here.
Здесь мы должны быть очень осторожны.
We must be very careful here, said the kind-hearted woodman.
Сказал добросердечный дровосек.
Said the kind-hearted woodman. Or we may hurt these pretty little people.
Иначе мы можем навредить этим хорошим человечкам.
Or we may hurt these pretty little people. So they will never get over it.
Так что они никогда не оправятся.
So they will never get over it. A little farther on Dorothy met.
Чуть дальше Дороти встретила.
A little farther on Dorothy met a most beautifully dressed young princess.
Прекрасно одетую юную принцессу,
A most beautifully dressed young princess. Who stopped short as she saw the strangers.
которая остановилась, увидев незнакомцев,
Who stopped short as she saw the strangers. And started to run away.
и побежала прочь.
and started to run away. Dorothy wanted to see more of the princess.
Дороти хотела увидеть принцессу,
Dorothy wanted to see more of the princess. So she ran after her.
поэтому побежала за ней.
So she ran after her. But the China girl cried out.
Но фарфоровая девочка закричала.
But the China girl cried out. Don't chase me. Don't chase me.
«Не гонись за мной! Не гонись!»
Don't chase me. Don't chase me. She had such a frightened little voice.
У нее был такой испуганный тоненький голосок,
She had such a frightened little voice that Dorothy stopped and said.
что Дороти остановилась и сказала.
That Dorothy stopped and said. Why not?
Почему?
Why not? Because.
Потому что,
Because. Answered the princess.
ответила принцесса,
Answered the princess. Also stopping, a safe distance away.
останавливаясь на безопасном расстоянии.
Also stopping, a safe distance away. If I run, I may fall down and break myself.
Если я побегу, то могу упасть и разбиться.
If I run, I may fall down and break myself. But could you not be mended?
Но нельзя ли будет тебя починить?
But could you not be mended? Asked the girl.
Спросила девушка.
Asked the girl. Oh, yes.
Ну да.
Oh, yes. But one is never so pretty after being mended.
После починки никогда не будешь так же хороша.
But one is never so pretty after being mended. You know.
Знаешь ли,
You know. Replied the princess.
ответила принцесса.
Replied the princess. I suppose not.
Наверно, нет,
I suppose not. Said Dorothy.
сказала Дороти.
Said Dorothy. Now there is Mr. Joker.
А вот и мистер Джокер,
Now there is Mr. Joker. One of our clowns.
один из наших клоунов,
One of our clowns. Continued the China lady.
продолжила фарфоровая дама,
Continued the China lady. Who is always trying to stand upon his head.
который все время пытается встать на голову.
Who is always trying to stand upon his head. He has broken himself so often.
Он так часто ломал себя,
He has broken himself so often. That he is mended in 100 places.
что собран из сотен кусков,
That he is mended in 100 places. And doesn't look at all pretty.
и выглядит совсем некрасиво.
And doesn't look at all pretty. Here he comes now, so you can see for yourself.
Вот и он идет, так что сами видите.
Here he comes now, so you can see for yourself. Indeed.
В самом деле,
Indeed. A jolly little clown came walking toward them.
навстречу им шел веселый маленький клоун,
A jolly little clown came walking toward them. And Dorothy could see.
и Дороти могла видеть,
And Dorothy could see that in spite of his pretty clothes of red,
что, несмотря на свою красивую одежду красного,
that in spite of his pretty clothes of red and yellow and green,
желтого и зеленого цветов,
and yellow and green, he was completely covered with cracks.
он был весь в трещинах,
He was completely covered with cracks. Running every which way and showing plainly,
бегал во все стороны и явно показывая,
running every which way and showing plainly, that he had been mended in many places.
что его собрали из многих кусочков.
That he had been mended in many places. The clown put his hands in his pockets.
Клоун засунул руки в карманы.
The clown put his hands in his pockets. And after puffing out his cheeks,
И надув щеки,
and after puffing out his cheeks, And nodding his head at them saucily, he said,
И дерзко кивнув им головой, сказал:
and nodding his head at them saucily, he said, My lady fair,
«Моя прекрасная леди,
my lady fair, why do you stare at,
почему ты смотришь
why do you stare at poor old Mr. Joker?
на бедного старого мистера Джокера?
Poor old Mr. Joker? You're quite as stiff,
Ты такой же жесткий
you're quite as stiff and prim as if,
и чопорный, как будто
and prim as if you'd eaten up a poker,
ты бы съел кочергу.
you'd eaten up a poker. Be quiet, sir.
Молчать, сэр,
Be quiet, sir, said the princess,
сказала принцесса.
said the princess. Can't you see these are strangers?
Разве вы не видите, что это незнакомцы,
Can't you see these are strangers? And should be treated with respect?
и к ним следует относиться с уважением?
And should be treated with respect? Well, that's respect, I expect.
Но это уважение, я полагаю,
Well, that's respect, I expect. Declared the clown.
заявил клоун.
Declared the clown. And immediately stood upon his head.
И тут же встал на голову.
And immediately stood upon his head. Don't mind Mr. Joker.
Не обращайте внимания на мистера Джокера,
Don't mind Mr. Joker, said the princess to Dorothy.
сказала принцесса Дороти.
Said the princess to Dorothy. He is considerably cracked in his head.
Он сильно разбил голову,
He is considerably cracked in his head. And that makes him foolish.
и он стал глупым.
And that makes him foolish. Oh, I don't mind him a bit.
О, я не против него нисколько,
Oh, I don't mind him a bit, said Dorothy.
сказала Дороти.
Said Dorothy. But you are so beautiful.
Вы так прекрасны,
But you are so beautiful. She continued.
продолжила она,
She continued. That I am sure I could love you dearly.
я уверена, что смогу нежно полюбить вас.
That I am sure I could love you dearly. Won't you let me carry you back to Kansas?
Вы не позволите мне отвезти вас обратно в Канзас
Won't you let me carry you back to Kansas? And stand you on Aunt Em's mantle?
и поставить на каминную полку тети М?
And stand you on Aunt Em's mantle? I could carry you in my basket.
Я могла бы носить вас в своей корзине.
I could carry you in my basket. That would make me very unhappy.
Это сделало бы меня очень несчастной,
That would make me very unhappy, answered the China princess.
ответила фарфоровая принцесса.
Answered the China princess. You see, here in our country we live contentedly.
Видите ли, здесь, в нашей стране, мы живем сыто,
You see, here in our country we live contentedly. And can talk and move around,
и можем говорить и передвигаться,
and can talk and move around as we please.
как нам заблагорассудится.
As we please. But whenever any of us are taken away,
Но всякий раз, когда кого-нибудь из нас забирают,
but whenever any of us are taken away, our joints at once stiffen.
наши суставы тотчас же одеревеневают,
Our joints at once stiffen. And we can only stand straight,
и мы можем стоять только прямо,
and we can only stand straight and look pretty,
и выглядеть красиво.
and look pretty. Of course, that is all that is expected of us.
Конечно, это все, что от нас ожидают.
Of course, that is all that is expected of us. When we are on mantles,
Когда мы стоим на каминных полках,
when we are on mantles and cabinets and drawing room tables,
в шкафах и на столах в гостиной,
and cabinets and drawing room tables. But our lives are much pleasanter here.
но наша жизнь гораздо приятнее здесь.
But our lives are much pleasanter here. In our own country.
В нашей собственной стране.
In our own country. I would not make you.
Я бы не стала делать себя.
I would not make you unhappy for all the world.
Самой несчастной во всем мире.
Unhappy for all the world. Exclaimed Dorothy.
Воскликнула Дороти.
Exclaimed Dorothy. So I'll just say goodbye.
Так что я просто попрощаюсь.
So I'll just say goodbye. Goodbye.
До свидания.
Goodbye. Replied the princess.
Ответила принцесса.
Replied the princess. They walked carefully through the China Country.
Они осторожно шли по фарфоровой стране.
They walked carefully through the China Country. The little animals and all the people.
Зверьки и все люди.
The little animals and all the people scampered out of their way.
Бросились в рассыпную.
Scampered out of their way. Fearing the strangers would break them.
Боясь, что незнакомцы их сломают.
Fearing the strangers would break them. And after an hour or so.
И через час или около того.
And after an hour or so. The travelers reached the other side of the country.
Путники добрались до другого конца страны.
The travelers reached the other side of the country. And came to another China wall.
И подошли к очередной фарфоровой стене.
And came to another China wall. It was not so high as the first, however.
Однако он был не таким высоким, как первый.
It was not so high as the first, however. And by standing upon the lion's back.
И встав на спину льва.
And by standing upon the lion's back. They all managed to scramble to the top.
Им всем удалось взобраться на вершину.
They all managed to scramble to the top. Then the lion gathered his legs under him.
Тогда лев подобрал под себя ноги.
Then the lion gathered his legs under him. And jumped on the wall.
И прыгнул на стену.
And jumped on the wall. But just as he jumped.
Но как только он прыгнул.
But just as he jumped. He upset a china church with his tail.
Он опрокинул хвостом фарфоровую церковь.
He upset a china church with his tail. And smashed it all to pieces.
И разбил ее вдребезги.
And smashed it all to pieces. That was too bad.
Это было очень плохо.
That was too bad. Said Dorothy.
Сказала Дороти.
Said Dorothy. But really I think we were lucky.
Но я действительно думаю, что нам повезло.
But really I think we were lucky. In not doing these little people more harm.
Что мы не причинили этим маленьким людям больше вреда.
In not doing these little people more harm. Than breaking a cow's leg and a church.
Чем сломали коровью ногу и церковь.
Than breaking a cow's leg and a church. They are all so brittle.
Они все такие хрупкие.
They are all so brittle. They are, indeed.
Это действительно так.
They are, indeed. Said the scarecrow.
Сказал Страшила.
Said the scarecrow. And I am thankful I am made of straw.
И я благодарен за то, что я сделан из соломы.
And I am thankful I am made of straw. And cannot be easily damaged.
И меня нелегко повредить.
And cannot be easily damaged. There are worse things in the world than being a scarecrow.
В мире есть вещи похуже, чем быть страшилой.
There are worse things in the world than being a scarecrow.